Hi, I'm Evan,
And I'm Nick.
and welcome to our crash course video on synthetic meat. This video is going to serve as a precursor to our larger learning module present in the campus class. In this course, we'll discuss the technical specificities of synthetic meat creation, present policy and industry actors, the impact synthetic meat can have on our world, and finally how synthetic meat has developed into a cultural technology being shaped by societal attitudes and outcomes.
We plan to give you a look into our process of understanding and challenge you to utilize or adapt this process when looking at other future technologies. Our goal is to not only teach you the ins and outs of the synthetic meat industry, but to also provide the ways of knowing which we employed in analyzing the industry. Then, we want to extend the challenge to you, allowing you to creatively adapt and utilize our methodology to teach yourself about an emerging technology of your interest.
There are several methods to learn about a broad and diverse industry like this. Given that there are so many ways of knowing coming from so many different actors, we took a big picture approach to address the complexities which exist. By understanding these complexities, we can begin to understand the breadth of the systems at play and even how these complexities will dictate the future of synthetic meat.
That's correct. Complexity exists in every industry, and by comprehensively looking at the players in a given landscape, as well as the factors that drive them, we can start to comprehend the complexity within a system. Additionally, in this learning module, we aim to give you an understanding of the synthetic meat industry by providing an evolutionary backdrop as to how and why these technologies evolved to today's state. By understanding the who, what, when, where, and why from each stage of evolution and for each actor, we can attempt to abstract and understand the system holistically.
In order to understand the current state of the synthetic meat industry, it is important to look back at the historical development which pioneered this technology. Synthetic, derived from the Greek words syn and tithena, meaning together and to put or to place respectively, describes the production of meat through artificial construction in a biotechnological lab. Synthetic meat conceptualization began as early as 1931 with Winston Churchill's essay 50 Years Hence, describing his vision for the next 5 decades. In his writing, Churchill describes with a greater knowledge of what we are called hormones, the chemical messengers in our blood, it will be possible to control growth. We shall escape the absurdity of growing a whole chicken in order to eat the breast or wing by growing these parts separately under a suitable medium. While Churchill was off by almost another semi-centennial, his prediction was one of many that foresaw the production of genetically cultured experiments. Almost 70 years later, the first patent for the production of lab-grown meat tissue for the purpose of human consumption was awarded to John Vane, ushering a new century of technological advancement and innovation.
Throughout the past 2 years, there have been numerous scientific advances within the synthetic meat industry. Immediately after John Vane's discovery, in 2001, NASA began funding research with cultured meat from turkey starter cells. This led to the first edible lab-grown fish meat sample being produced in 2002, PETA offering $1 million to any company that could bring cultured chicken meat to market in 2008, and even Time magazine declaring synthetic meat one of the breakthrough ideas of the year in 2009. Throughout the past decade, tremendous work has been focused on startups and the development of commercially available synthetic meat options. Many of these companies, including Finless Foods and Memphis Meats, have guaranteed the commercial availability of their products in the next 2 years.
While there is so much greater history of synthetic meat, there is not enough time to delve into it completely in this video. There will be supplemental material provided in the history module going into much more depth. To branch off of the historical significance of synthetic meat, it is important to ask the question, how is synthetic meat even produced? To give a high-level overview, synthetic meat is created through the controlled culturing of animal cells. This typically involves the use of an animal muscle, fat, or stem cell that is cultured through a growth medium, ensuring survival and growth. During the culturing period, cells are constantly expanding and dividing until a designated size is reached. To give a more technically involved description, here's Nick.
Thanks, Evan. When looking at a specific example like synthetic cow meat, production begins with the extraction of a piece of muscle tissue, usually in a high-dense muscular region of the cow. After this painless procedure, the tissue is cut down into simple muscle fibers and cells. Muscle tissue is made up of both muscle and fat cells, which are then separated, isolating the muscle cells in their own cultured environment. This process of mitotic division of muscle cells can result in one cell producing 1 trillion cells. During division, cells merge together forming myotubes. Next, a collection of myotubes is placed around a gel, causing rapid contraction, including cellular growth and merging. This rapid expansion results in the creation of one new muscular tissue, with the capacity to produce 800 million muscle tissue strands from one sample. This process can result in the creation of over 80,000 quarter pounders from just one sample.
Switching from the technical background of synthetic meat leads us to an examination of the different actors within the industry. As highlighted in our technology actor matrix, we outlined all the players within the synthetic meat space, including R&D players, policymakers, market actors, and even the basic science researchers which have allowed for scientific developments like this to occur.
Through our methodology, we found that the majority of actors belong within the self-governance, R&D, and market stimulation categories, as the majority are involved in startups, academic research, or organizational commercialization. This two-dimensional framework allows policymakers to identify actors within the landscape of synthetic meat based on the why behind their involvement, as well as the process by which they are regulated, or the how. Our technology actor matrix will be provided within the actors submodule on Canvas in order to provide you with all the names of actors within this industry.
From an overview of the actors within the synthetic meat industry leads us to an understanding of the policy environment framing this technology. Beginning March 9, 2019, the FDA and USDA announced a new regulatory framework for all products based on culturing. This joint process involves the USDA handling food processing, labeling, and distribution, while the FDA conducts inspections and safety evaluations. This agreement is huge for the synthetic meat industry, as before this initiative, synthetic meat was not allowed to be commercially purchased in the mainstream network of grocery stores and restaurants in America.
Interestingly, the lack of FDA regulatory control has forced synthetic meat innovation to thrive in other countries outside of the United States, as America has had an extremely limited framework for inspection and evaluation of synthetic meat products prior to this agreement. But now, with this understanding of synthetic meat governance, what will be the pathway from innovation to commercialization?
For understanding the policy environment for such a complex industry like synthetic meat, looking into the positive and negative impacts of the industry justifies some of the perspectives which shape policy. Currently, synthetic meat is very costly to produce. Like the development of most initial phase technologies, the price for research and development is much steeper than the returns on investment. There is current hope that the large production capabilities that one sample of meat could have would lead to significant price drop, which is even cheaper than that of natural meat, as demand increases. There is no doubt that switching to a synthetic meat diet would be animal friendly, as there would no longer be a need for unethical, harmful treatment of farm animals. Also, synthetic meat significantly decreases the amount of water required in meat production. Normally, 9,000 liters are required to grow and raise a normal farm animal, but cultured meat can be produced with as little as 94 liters. One final positive is the potential health benefits associated with consuming synthetic meat. While unproven, there is work being done on artificially manipulating the nutritional capacities of meat, with emphasis on fat reduction and protein amino acid maximization.
While synthetic meat does have a lot of potential positive impacts, there are also some negative ones that must be considered. Currently, several studies show that lab-cultured meat could actually be more damaging to the environment with extensive CO2 emission. While synthetic meat would dramatically reduce methane emission from farm animals, predictions are showing that the factories producing synthetic meat could potentially be more environmentally detrimental, as CO2 from these factories accumulates in the atmosphere for more than a millennia, and methane dissipates after 12 years. Overall, there was initial hope synthetic meat would reduce this environmental burden, but work still must be done to determine the ways to maximize sustainability and utilize clean energy in the production of synthetic meat.
Hopefully this introduction video provides some exciting insight as to all of the interesting parts of the synthetic meat industry that you'll learn about, ranging across several disciplines and involving actors from all sectors. With that, we challenge you to take our approach and combine it with your expertise to understand other emerging technologies to come in the future.
Synthetic meat is so complex in nature, and while it may not seem this way at quick glance, we would like to invite you to practice our investigative techniques to get a grander picture of synthetic meat, as well as a technology of your own interest. It is important to understand the entirety of the actors, stakeholders, and technicalities, as you are not able to understand the interplay of complexity within an industry or system without complete knowledge of its design.
This course will be separated into weekly learning modules where a different tool and perspective will be used to take a look at synthetic meat. For each module, we will include some information tailored to the topic as well as literature to read that will provide a deeper understanding.
You will then respond to a discussion post where you will employ similar methodologies to an emerging technology that you are passionate about. You will end the course by synthesizing all of your work into one final project, and then using your new knowledge and perspectives to describe the potential futures of your emerging technology. We are excited to take you on this journey, and we cannot wait to see what you will produce.